All right, man. We're rolling into one of our next favorites. Like, we don't want to run too late because I'll hijack for the next hour.
Oh
but
yeah,
this,
yeah.
Like,
I don't put a stock in it over there. Nobody else.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
And,
so
and without further ado, here's a super friend of the show, Steve Ramona. Yes, if I had a
guys.
I would play it and break everyone's speakers. Steve Ramona's the man. Steve Ramona, welcome back to Total Disruption. As always, this is open door policy for Steve Ramona. A guy can pop in at any time, any moment. You never know when we're going to talk to a really good friend of the show. Steve Ramona, master connector, podcast host, TV host, has really gone down a journey of empowering everyone's lives. And when I say master connector, half the people I have come in contact with in one way or the other, I've been introduced to through Steve Ramona. It's been pretty exceptional and pretty remarkable. Steve, welcome to Total Disruption. Welcome back. Why don't you tell us what you're doing right now and where people can find you while we're introducing you?
LinkedIn is a great place. Steve Ramona. I'm always live on there. I think it's a place that if you're in business, you should be. Steve R1961 at Gmail is my email. Email me anytime. I do free podcast workshops for hosts, and I do free business mentoring as a servant's heart. That's what I believe you should do. And I'm going to throw this back at both of you guys. And Jake, I'm glad you're here. I told this to Mike earlier, but because of your opportunity of opening doors for me to speak, I got asked to be part of a huge speaker group. A speaker agent reached out, met with me, and signed me because of you guys. She saw me here. So I want to do that. I know privately, Mike, but with you guys, this works. And these guys bring so much value. It changed my life. So I want to thank both of you.
Oh, Steve, anything we can do for you, man. I'm so glad that happened for you. It's awesome. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, man. Let's be really honest about this. And we reference Steve all the time. Like it's rare we have an episode or something that we don't reference you in some way or another, specifically to you made a statement, and you said it during our last conference, actually, and we flooded into this really hard, is in the absence of a yes, create more value. Like this, that was literally the direct quote from you. In the absence of a yes, create more value. And we have rocked hard on that one because that's the truth. Like, that's exactly where it is. It's, great. Well, what else can I do for you today? Who else can I connect you to? Who do you need to know? Because that's the value they're truly looking for today. So that's this piece that we, from that reciprocal collaborative relationships with Steve that we've got. And I'm so grateful for it.
Thank you, Jake. And I appreciate that. And shout out to Chris. That's a legend I'm following. So I'm going to do my best to follow him. And I thank you for that great message, Chris. And it's interesting. The more people you meet, when you get that you have these resources again. It doesn't have to be introduction. I just met a guy this week that's worked with Walmart, Mercedes-Benz, and doubled their income, those huge companies. He gave me a couple resources I can share with others that when I get that go, hey, here's something I think it would help you.
That's awesome. Well, we'll be sharing some resources here in a minute because I've got a bunch of questions for you, Steve Ramona. And by the way, Jake says that ad nauseum to me about that add value, add value, add value. I mean, I feel like he should have that on the wall behind him with that little dash that says Steve Ramona, right? Like, when in doubt, add value, Steve Ramona. Instead of that thing, Jake, why don't you get rid of whatever that thing is behind you and just put that up there, okay? And maybe even have a picture of Steve in metal on the outline, right? That's what I want. I mean, that's what I want. I mean, really big time. So,
and it's a total disruptor, Mike. Talk about total disruption. It's a nice thing, but it disrupts the world, disrupts business in such a great way. As I love you saying that.
I love it. So, all right, Steve, let's talk about a couple of things here, right? Let's talk about leaders, okay? So you and I talked about this briefly a while back, but what's essential about a leader, and how should a leader shape a community? And then how should somebody be their own internal leader?
Shut up and listen. If you're going to be a leader, that's what you're going to do. You're not going to stand on a podium and tell them what to do. You're not going to stand in front of your group, your employees, your soldiers, whoever, and just pound their head.
Okay.
Shut up and listen and draw value from that. I know you mentioned on my little topic, ASLA principle. We'll just jump into it.
Yeah, that was my next thing.
Okay, well, we're so aligned. That's why you're my brother. Ask, shut up, listen, and ask. I've been talking about this for the last 6 months. The ask is ask a question. What's your challenges in your business? This is somebody you meet for the first time, second time, third time. It draws such a great conversation of shutting up. People go, well, if I shut up, aren't I listening? No, just go to a Zoom room. When you're in a big Zoom or a small Zoom and people, their screens go black, there's always a reason. Maybe it's a good reason. That doesn't matter. But are they really listening to what you're saying? Probably not. Have 50% of the time. And that's okay if they have to go to the bathroom, drink, whatever. But it's all about the listening. And then when you listen, here's the ROI for your business. Here's the total disruption. Then you can ask, hey, I need help, Mike. Can you give me a celebrity guest for my podcast? Oh my God, I do. I have somebody to introduce you to. Because you listened, you brought value. The opportunity door flies wide open because what? They're happy. They're excited. You helped them. The inclination of giving you help has gone up massively. And I'll give you a quick story. I got asked to mentor a bartender here locally that wants to launch a business. I hear you mentor business people and you have a podcast and all that. Absolutely. Do it for sure. I love that, Anthony. Thank you. That's great.
I love Anthony. He's another.
Oh, he's a rock star. So I met with him, gave him so much value. Oh, Mike, this guy was like on fire. I can't believe you do this. You didn't charge. I said, no, this is just me volunteering to help you. That's what I do. But then I asked. See, this is where the shut up, listen, and ask. Well, now I brought massive value. And I go, I'd love some help for my podcast. Do you know any influential people? He goes, well, I know the vice president of Google who's best friends with Paige.
Okay.
I said, what?
That's
okay. Easy. He goes, he's my cousin. I'll introduce you to him.
Forget about it.
What does he do? I haven't gotten him on. He hasn't been on my show yet, but we're still working on. Those are hard to get. But that's where the ask at the end there is so powerful because people go, yeah, I serve, this, I give value. We have to be a little bit selfish. We have bills to pay. We have to grow, all those things. So you ask. Now, if they don't have anything and it's a no, say, thank you so much. By the way, Mike, I have one more thing for you. Again, it's what Jake said so perfectly about the, absence of yes. I love that. You still bring them value because the no is such a fearful word and it really shouldn't be. I was like that for 20 years. I'm going to present Mike this and he's going to say no. What do I do? And you say no. I'm like, oh, God, I just lost a client. No, you developed a friend.
Well, yeah. And I'll echo that because sometimes I used to struggle with that. I don't anymore. My reflexes want to struggle with it, but then I train my brain to stop struggling with it. And even Jake actually does this really well when we're on a talk and we're asking somebody, okay, so we have a primary objective of, okay, person, do you want to do something with us in a long-standing manner? And then he'll go, selfishly, if you don't, he uses the word selfishly, can I ask, who do you know? And he does that really effectively. And that little move of saying selfishly means, yeah, I understand I am moving through the primary question onto a secondary question, but I'm still trying to deliver something out of this conversation that's just beyond the value. And of course, we always do something in some capacity, but that second, who do you know? And communicating the fact that you're selfishly asking beyond them without sounding greedy. What do you think about that?
I think it's great because I've done this hundreds and hundreds of times, probably 1,000 times. Nobody's ever said, Steve, you're an a-hole for asking. Not once. I know nobody subconsciously is thinking, hey, Steve, he's asking for something from me because I've given him so much or her so much. I just got a quote from the Dalai Lama this week, and it was interesting. He says giving and receiving is love, the nurturing of love. Dalai Lama is a pretty rock star in my book. Don't know much about him. I know you say his name, people know. I'm like, that's quite interesting because I talk about empathy and love in business. It's not there. It's, commissions, our money's not coming in. We're not marketing right. We have too many HR issues. I love Mike. We call each other brother. We're in business together. We are brother. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not the agape love. And I always mess this Greek thing up, but it's not the intimate love. It's the love of the other person. Giving that value and asking is reciprocal, because then you meet with them again, or they're top of mind, you're top of mind. I get 3 to 5 referrals daily for the last 18 months. Now, people listening, just think about that, how much you would grow your business, but more importantly, grow your network, which grows your business, because that's really the journey. I got a referral, Mike, 4 weeks ago. Somebody I hadn't talked to in 10 months. And it popped up in the email. Hey, this is Debbie. You need to meet, Steve, you need to meet, I think it was Tony. I'm looking, I go, I haven't talked to her in 10 months. That's top of mind. But see, here's the great thing. I have my issue is talking about myself. I know it's important, but here's the best thing in the world. All of you listening, watching, you can all do this. This is not a skill set that you have to be a top NBA player, be the best Patrick Mahomes quarterback in the NFL. You could just be the everyday person and become that rock star because you bring value.
There you go. Well, so that leads me into this. The question sort of answers itself, but I feel like we should sort of ask this anyway. We've already answered the question, but I kind of have to ask it. So when we are networking, okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, if I'm networking, and let's be honest with each other, a lot of people on this call don't have a huge ad budget. And what I mean by networking is specifically connecting for the purposes of some sort of referral relationship or transaction relationship where we have to pay the bills. We need to either spend time creating video sales letters and putting them out there in paid advertising, or we need to create a relationship where we are meeting 4 or 5 people a day, communicating back and forth about how we can do some transactions. Maybe not right there, but we need to set that up. And if you don't do either one of the two, I don't know how you're getting business, right? So how do we network properly? I'm going to say bring value, ask. What am I missing, Steve? What am I missing?
Listen, build relationships, connecting with purpose. Yeah, that purpose for me, and Jake, thank you, total sub, is value. Law of increase. I read chapter 4, Think and Grow Rich, every month. Just to remind me, law of increase, that's my purpose. But building that relationship, people that are married out there, people that have boyfriends, girlfriends, best friend relationships. I heard this new phrase, Galentine's, last night. I guess women go out for Valentine's Day on their own. It's an interesting thing. Us guys are, but that's building relationships. Galentine's guys go out.
That and post it up, please. Galentine.
Yeah, right. That thing. But what do you do in that relationship? You meet somebody for the first time on a date. I can remember my first date with my wife, and I had known her before, but we sat for 3 hours and talked and ate and had a great time. I wasn't trying to date her. I wasn't trying to marry her. I was building a relationship with her to get to know her, to see if we even fit. Well, why don't we do that in business? Why do we have to go, Mike, you need my product and service today because I can change you.
Right.
But I don't know you yet. How can I do that? I've got to build that relation. Trust comes in. The Maya Angelou quote comes in. Yeah, of course, Julianne knows Galentine's. She's I love it. But we lose sight of that because, especially now with COVID and recession and political stuff, fear and loss. And that can't be forefront in your mind. You just got to help find a way. And the more you build your network, the more opportunities to grow. And look what you guys are doing with your business. Massive growth because you built relationships over years, and you go decide to start this thing. And look, I get your updates. I'm high-fiving the air, high-fiving you guys because you're doing it the right way. Here's the problem with all this. We don't know when, where, or how it's going to happen. And that's what gets in people's way. Oh, I hear all the time, I love what you do serving. I love bringing value, but I got to pay rent tomorrow. That's a whole nother issue. Even though you've got stuff going on in your life, you should still be bringing value.
100%. And maybe you should spend less.
Yeah, I was going to jump into that. There's a whole other issue that we'll get your financial guy to talk to them. By the way, reach out to Mike and do that. But when you're having a bad day, and I found out, I had a guy on my show this week, top guy, I think I mentioned him earlier. He did some research and found out if you were given $1,000, I give you Mike $1,000, and I give Jake $1,000. You go spend it. Jake gives it away. The increase in the endorphins and all the science stuff, the increase of happiness is 80%. And the bigger the give, the longer lasting the joy and happiness. Now, anybody out there, I'm raising my hand. I'm all over for that because I know it happens to me daily. I get emails. I met a lady this week. She jumped on to get to know me and help. By the time we got done, I get this massive email. I can't believe what you did. You know how happy I was? I was excited. Again, all of us can do that, not just me or you, Mike or Jake. Everybody listening, everybody watching this recording, they can do that. That's what so fires me up. We could build this community of givers, not takers.
Wow, that's powerful, Steve. I mean, I never knew that. I mean, listen, I think in that event, if I had to spend it, I might buy a plane ticket and come take you out to dinner. All right,
Let's go.
There we go, man. It'll be spent, money well spent. But I know what you meant metaphorically. I really I'm blown away by that idea of just giving is the same as spending, because you think, okay, if I go buy something, right, I'll have this tangible item, right? I'll have this widget in my hand and I can sit there and play with it and all this other stuff and use it and communicate and do whatever I got to do. But when you're saying that you just put that energy out there, that just really brings it home to me on an internal level, right? Like when you're giving from the heart and you're being centered with your value systems, to me, that also says if you're aligned with your purpose and you're giving through your purpose, and whether your purpose matches your career or whether your career is one thing and you're acting on purpose in another area of your life, at some point in your world, you should bring that alignment in some way, right? And just to live a more fulfilled life. You know, it's not all about acquisition. It's not all about, hey, I need. Try giving. It's amazing, man. That's great.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about this, right, you referenced the term, you got your shows, you got everything else, right? Let's change this for a second. You always give value, right? You have a podcast, you have a TV show. Well, talk to me about that. Talk to me about how that's transformed your life and that how you didn't really get into podcasting to make money and that how you utilize your podcast to get that through line we just talked about. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
For those of us that are out there who are either tipping point on TV or podcast. First of all, what's your show? What are your shows called again?
Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. And you'll find all the podcasts, YouTube, Apple, all that. And then Together We Serve on E360 TV, which I'm excited to be partners with you and Jake. And shout out to Julianne that got us connected. And see, on a real quick note, what a great network that Julianne did. Connected us at that event, and look what's happened, and things have exploded. So shout out and God bless to Julianne. Love her.
You're the best.
You know, it's all about service. You can tell Doing Business with a Servant's Heart, Together We Serve. Because to have that servant's heart, we have to serve as a community. I can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. It's all of us as a community. And the power of it, and here's a quick story. New Year's Day, my wife and I went to her friend's house for dinner at New Year's Day. And we're sitting talking, and she flips over and looks at me and goes, I know you from, wait a minute, do you have a podcast? I said, yeah. Is it Doing Business with a Servant's Heart? Yeah. I've never talked to her about it. She looks at me, she goes, oh my God. The stories that you put out and how you bring the best out of people is blowing me away. I listen to it every week. And I'm like, holy moly, I am making an impact in the world. I want to make it bigger, but that day has changed my life when it comes to podcasting, because anybody that's a podcaster, one, you're building your network. That's the power of that. But two, who are we impacting? Who are we making a difference with? And that's just giving. asking you to be on my show and giving us, spouting out such great information and some hope, motivation, inspiration, education is my goal in my podcast. And it was so powerful. So that's the goal. My big goal, audacious goal for 2025 is 1 million people hear, listen, or see doing business with a servant's heart message. And I don't mean watch the podcast, TV show. I'd love that. But somebody listens to the podcast and tells 10 people, oh my God, doing business with a servant's heart is the way we need to be. That's my big, big goal. And I hope I hit that. I'm not hope, excuse me, reverse. I will hit that.
As Jake would say, hope is not a strategy. I love that. He says that all the time, and it's a thumb to my eye. Hope is not a strategy. It's like Jake is just digging his thumb right into my head. And it works. That's why Jake's such a great coach, right?
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from that guy. So I just want to rewind something real quick. When we talk about podcasts, like when we started Total Disruption, we were trying to get credibility and all this other marching down those, relatable roads. It morphed into something so much bigger. And we're not doing it just to try to get sponsors, and there's no longer second play here. If you're an actual real life podcaster and like you are, like we are TV show podcast people, we're just trying to get our messages out of here to the world, right? And hopefully people will take that as a baton and inject into their life some of the things that we've discovered, uncovered, and are communicating. And it has nothing to do with money, ironically. And I get it. We're all in business, right? So we're not doing a vlog where you're watching me sleep. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's do the most boring shit possible. And people will start watching just for the boring value. That's not it at all. It's become a whole different thing. It's an extension of trying to get it out there. And I feel like you're doing a fantastic job. And I actually learned that from you, right? I was like, man, when I was on your show, which, by the way, we need to do part 2 at some point.
Yes.
You really do have a knack for getting it out of people. So what advice would you have for somebody who's coming down this road, who's hearing us talk and, doing business with a servant's heart, adding value? You said it earlier, but I just want to bring it back around. There's no real time ROI on all that, right? Or is there a methodology to speed some of that up, or should you not care about that?
Well, I'm a crazy guy because this is a crazy world. And I was doing 5 podcasts a day. I was just ramping this thing up because it was growing my network massively. And I started seeing very wealthy people, celebrities, influencers wanting to be on my show. I'm like, I've got to jump on this. What a great process for my business to develop partnerships. And what I've learned, and anybody can do this, your guest is your gold. Because, and I'll give you a tip out there, podcast hosts, and if you're listening, this is a tip I share with everybody. When you do your podcast, you start with energy. You come in and go, Mike and Jake, I'm so fired up to do this show. Man, here, let me ask a couple questions. Oh, that's great. I can't believe you. Now the energy's here. Let me get it here, okay? Then we do a podcast, which in the back of their mind, they know we're going to promote them. They're going to go out to our world and go out to their world, how great they are, why they're so a servant's heart, all that. So now the level goes from here to here. I'm always looking at up level. And Jake, you taught me that, by the way, up level. And then at the end is Jake and Mike, that was a credible show. Oh my God, I learned this, this, and this. By the way, here's a couple introductions. They'd be great for your show. What did I just do? Flooded them with value. And had a billionaire on. I can't say his name, and it's okay. Very multi-billionaire. And I go, I need some help. I need some money. I'm starting a company. He goes, whatever you need, Steve. My company signed a $100 million deal yesterday.
Wow. Congratulations, dude. That's amazing.
Through this. And we're signing the paperwork. And I'm saying it not from ego, which is ego's actually empowering greater outcomes. So if you hear me say ego, that's what I'm doing. But it's anybody can do this. Podcast is just one of the ways. But what we all need to do is build our network. And I think a podcast or a TV show, everybody has a message and they want to put it out there. You guys have learned that. Doesn't matter who they are. I had Forbes Riley on, which a lot of you women know, top entrepreneur, billions of dollars. Well, Monday I did a show with a guy, Zach, and I asked him, hey, I see you had Forbes Riley. Can I have her on? An hour later, I had an email. 3 days later, she was on my podcast. I had to get her on. And she asked me to do part 2. Now, 5 years ago, you told me that, Jake and Mike, I'd say you guys are absolutely bonkers. There's no way Forbes Riley's going to talk to me. But they all have a message, and if you treat them right, treat them as humans, and dealing with a lot of very wealthy people, they need help. But the problem is they need help. They get help from so many different people or approached. When you come in with value without selling them, big things happen.
I'm going to tell you what, Steve, I'm keeping that.
Call me anything you want.
I'm keeping that $1,000. You're taking me out to dinner, dude.
Yeah, let's go. No, absolutely.
You get your ass over here, man. You Mr. $100 million man. I love it, dude. That's awesome. Steve Ramona, I knew you when, and so did Jake. Dude, I can't thank you enough. Steve, how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of Steve Ramona? One more time, just so that everyone who might have been tuning in the middle here. What do we have, Steve?
Connect to me on LinkedIn. I love to connect on LinkedIn. You got my email down below, stevr1961@gmail. Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. Together we serve on E360 TV. And I'm going to leave you guys with this that I've been telling people lately. Podcasts are a gift. And Mike, Jake, when you guys do a podcast with a guest, somebody listens and says, oh my God, that guest would be great for my cousin. And they share your link with that cousin, go, you need to listen to this person. They're going to change your life. And either they connect with that person or they ask a question to that person and that changes their life. Your audience just served the gift to them and they got the gift back of love because they helped them. So that's the power of podcasting and TV shows and all these guests that we have. Thank you, guys. God bless you both.
Love you, Steve Ramona. Thank you so much.
Love you,
it's
guys.
always awesome to have you on Disruption. And we will be in touch soon.
Amen. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.